Wait, I know this is a long video. I know you guys see like how long the video is, but just hear me out for a second. If you just want to TLDR, skip to like this time, and then like you'll get everything you need, and we can just call this a wrap, and it'll be done with. All right. But if you're a fan of the series or just really want to know in depth, like my own opinion, then you definitely want to watch the entire video. All right. And now on to the review. We live in a society. I'm kidding. No, but for real though, there's a lot of action fighting anime out in the world today. You got your Black Clovers, your Borutos, your fucking ton of isekai that's all out at your fingertips, right? Then this one drops out of the sky with fancy visuals, hype music, fun characters. Oh, and God and high schools in the title, right? So it has to be somewhat decent or just plain mind-blowing. Enter the God of High School, a story about a fighting tournament in which the winner will be granted any wish that they desire, and the characters who fight in this tournament also do stuff as well, I guess. I don't know. I'll bet it's nothing new, and you have to admit that much if you watched or even heard of anime before. The list is damn near endless with all the fucking shonens out there. Yet we have this quirky main character with such an interesting design and fighting style. Fighting scenes that give you a breath of fresh air, and a production studio with a large following. This is what makes the God of High School special, and at the same time is literally nothing new in the genre at all. While its execution of these tropes are performed so poorly that many of its fan base and fans of shonen anime in general don't even seem to care or simply can't see its faults due to the mindless action and poor plot progression. Side note, before you guys start typing and start bashing me, oh, you only have 25 subscribers, okay, next. If you don't like it, just don't review it, etc, etc. You know who you guys are. I'm only looking at the anime. This is simply my own opinion. This is simply my own opinion in an attempt to create a discussion and not some like one-sided lecture, all right? This is a discussion. Ha ha ha. I invite you, yes, you out there, yeah, I'm talking to you, to respectfully comment below your own thoughts and thesis, whatever. But if you say anything remotely distasteful, YouTube is just gonna yeet your ass. Dude, I've never seen a bloodbath like this before in my life. Holy shit. Out into oblivion. Not me, YouTube will. I generally allow a lot of different comments, but I digress. So if you're looking for like a review on the anime and the manga as a whole, then upload your own damn video. But this is only focusing on the anime. So I'll wait for your video. Go ahead and upload it. You done? Did you upload it yet? Now that's out the way. Let's begin. The God of High School begins with a scene of some sort of political official speaking to Park Mujin, one of the God of High School's tournament judges, and more seemingly, and I say seemingly as the story only appears to show him as the tournament's sole proprietor. Park Mujin seems to be blackmailed by the political official, and suddenly the man and his entourage is engulfed by a wild storm on the island they're resting on. The scene changes to Park Mujin slamming his hand with a tattoo of a cross or an X on it on a table, while another scene changed to the island having a large cross and a hand imprinted on it with no sign of the people who were once enjoying the lovely warm weather. The audience can then immediately assume that it was Park Mujin who murdered these people, but it is odd and somewhat jarring. But that aside, you ask yourself, how can simply putting a hand on the table cause so much destruction and so simply, right? Or how can anyone hold so much power? This intro scene tells you that this anime is dealing with supernatural elements, and if you missed it before, there's an image of all sorts of ancient mythological beasts in front of Park Mujin. So we already have mysterious powers and some sort of god element in the anime already tied with corrupt politics and plain old one-hit knockouts, or OKOs as I call them. This leads us to believe that the anime may be much larger than just politics, right? After the opening, we see a lonely, starry-eyed child and an elderly gentleman wanting him to make friends, then leaving him shortly afterwards. The lonely child is now a grown teenager riding his bike down to the city, supposedly late for something. We see him riding his bike off a cliff in an energetic manner, obviously suggesting that he is, of course, the main character, which the plot surrounds himself around, I guess. The mood changes as the OST ramps up and the city's inhabitants all begin talking about this tournament and its preliminaries. The audience gets this vast sense of the large city with living, breathing citizens all hyped about the upcoming fight, just like the viewer waiting for a fight to begin. It is an excellent way to begin the shonen narrative, right? Showing us the world and having all these people excited about watching it creates this excitement in yourself. Suddenly we get a glimpse of the other characters like Han Dewi. I'm butchering this, but just let it be. And Yumira. Dewi seems to care more about money and working despite his lazy, boring character design. Not to diminish him at all, but he looks more serious. He's a typical man on a mission sort of person. On the other hand, Yumira appears really cute and enjoys muscles. I didn't really understand that much. We see all sorts of characters in this world, and trouble appears, which leads the main characters into each other in a very comical fashion. Coincidentally, or perhaps fate itself, brings them together to work as a team in order to catch a purse snatcher, of all things. All of this is done in a very over-the-top style with unreal physics involved. A chase scene between a bike and a motorcycle, running over someone with said bike, the sword being thrown to perfectly stop the bike, using a supposedly wooden sword for a sharp turn, and the list goes on. This is all seemingly in the sake of comedy and showing the viewers what to expect from the anime. Over-the-top action with tons of comical elements, or so one would expect with a first episode like this. This haphazardly brought together team started to head towards this got a high school tournament, which they seemingly was brought together for anyway, and that the series was hinting at in its early minutes too. Suddenly a battle royale ensues amongst all of the participants. The characters fight in really flashy scenes, all with callbacks to the opening. More on that later. And a clash happens between the main character Jin Mori and a powerful participant just let out from prison, which is, I don't know, whatever. And the first episode, basically. We come to learn that this world will be a large tournament with many interruptions and victories that move the episodes along while another plot in the background takes place. And this is pretty much episodes 1 through 3. Spoiler alert, spoiler. All right, guys, hey, it's spoiler time. Now, if what I've said so far interests you, I really suggest you go watch the first 3 episodes, because I literally can't continue any further without spoiling it. Like, for real. Basically, there's just a ton of fights. The main cast are all brought together by continuous victories, birthed from happenstance and amazement of their fighting styles. And there's just something going on in the background that presents the audience that the tournament is not the entire plot. If you enjoy extravagant fight scenes, you'll most likely enjoy Got a High School. So go watch it. Did you watch it yet? I'll wait. So I assume you didn't watch it. You watched the first 3 episodes, or you watched the entire season. You're just here to listen to what I have to say about it, or you already read the manga and just here to bash me. Again, this is my own opinion, so I'll stop repeating it right about now. I enjoy any great narrative plot like the next guy. As an audience, we see there's elements of plot sprinkled here and there throughout the anime, but the only real movement is the tournament, which isn't what the anime is about at all. Yes. The Got a High School tournament isn't what the Got a High School is about. And if you follow any of that, I applaud you. Let me explain. The real plot is that the Got a High School tournament was created to find, awaken, and protect this plot device poorly called the Key. Yep. Yeah, you heard me correctly. The Key. Out of all the things to name your plot devices, you call it literally the Key. That's what it's called. So this key is this like supernatural artifact that drives the entire plot. Albeit it's shown briefly towards the end. The key is told to do what again? What is it supposed to do?
何としても神にあだなす鍵を破壊せ。神を引きずり下ろす鍵は必ず手に入れる。
あの鍵って何なんですか？
人は神を聖域から引きずり出し、殺す力を得ることができる。
Oh right, it threatens God and has the ability to apparently kill gods, right? Again, this key moves the main plot, but only in the background and only comes out in the season's finale. What the fuck? The audience really only understands that the tournament moves the plot, but it doesn't at all. So what really makes this key an issue? This key is interchangeable with any sort of item, really. What it looks like doesn't matter, and what it is called doesn't matter at all. Replace the key with Dragon Ball and you have the same thing. Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball.
何なんですか？
人は神を聖域から引きずり出し、殺す力を得ることができる。
The key doesn't really matter. Also, as a viewer, you can assume that Jim Mori has the key as he's the fucking main character. And it's clearly broken as fuck. More on that later. But we come to find out that this guy, Naruto, aka Park Yilpyo, or more on that later, has the key. Another criteria is that this supposed key is an ass pull simply due to the fact when it does appear, spoiler alert, this is it right now. This is the big ass spoiler that you guys been waiting for. So if you haven't seen it, the anime, like, yeah. Spoiler alert, here it is, guys. Get ready. If you haven't seen anime, this is gonna spoil everything for you, but here we go. The key is a total ass pull simply due to the fact that when it does appear, it really does nothing at all except cause a poor comedic game of catch, make this random blue-haired guy with very little backstory or poorly explained backstory, more on that later, Jagle overpowered, but not as overpowered as the main character, of course, and then furthering the plot even more when the bad guy Jagle is defeated and the key is somehow mysteriously scattered across the planet upon defeat. What's interesting is that Jin Mori defeats Mr. Bad Guy Kun without even having the key. So is Jin Mori an exception to the key? We never really know because it's not even answered by this mysterious weird woman named Shenron-sama. Other than that, the key just really doesn't matter, and any semblance of plot is thrown out the window because of it. It's really all about the fight scenes in this anime. I truly believe that the narrative should reinforce the fight scenes, but here in The God of High School, there's actually little plot happening. Just a bunch of kids fighting, then oh look, it's time to save the world! Good job, everybody. Fucking great. Oh, and like everybody has stands too, apparently. I mean, Chakryok or Chariki or whatever they call it. These Charikis, I don't, fuck it. It just makes me wonder why this anime is even called The God of High School. Like, who is the God of High School anyway? Who is it supposed to be? Ah, right. Is it Yumira? The one major character that has no relevance whatsoever? You can tell she's full of spunk and joy with the super average backstory of, I must continue my family's tradition of the moonlight sword style. But the simps will just love her regardless anyway. She has one episode of fame where, of course, she's treated as an object for money while she gets an easy ride to her dreams. Thankfully, that easy ride is easily canceled by the other two main characters in episode 4. Of course, yes, the men come to the rescue. I'll bet she was always solely responsible to achieve her goal of spreading the good word of the moonlight sword style. But in this episode, her heart wavered slightly, then just went back to her own independent self. After episode 4 though, she's hardly a character at all, only used as a mere plot device a few times, and other times hardly gets any actual significance to the story. Replace Yumira with literally any of the other characters and you get the same result. A shell. An empty shell. Hollow. This sucks from a narrative standpoint, and more so since she's really just a stereotypical woman figure in the stereotypical shonen anime. the side piece of side pieces. It's hard to even consider her as a major character as well, even though we get to see her Deus Ex Machina stand, my bad, Chakriki or Chakrikyo ass pull in a fight to defeat this guy that I talked about in my reaction video, episode 9. And after that, she pulls it out again during the finale, which really just gives her a few seconds of fame. Now, I've been trying really hard not to inject American philosophy into like Japanese anime. I get that the cultures are different, but it's kind of hard to ignore stuff like this. We gotta have better women characters in bigger name animes, regardless of production studios and when the source material is published. Oh right, the guy at high school wasn't Yumira? Was it Han Dewi? You know, that lazy yet somewhat serious guy from earlier? Now his backstory is hella convoluted.
But ShoryukenPizza, it makes total sense. What you mean though? You're just hating. Go review anime you like and leave God of High School fans alone. Oh my god.
Let me present you with one of the most frustrating episodes I've seen all year in anime. Episode 5 of The God of High School. We're showing Dewi fighting a guy who he's been constantly fighting, but they're talking like they're best friends. Next, we're shown brief images of a sick man in a hospital bed being treated while Dewi is throwing up. Already told you that Dewi seems money hungry, right? Well, now he's hovering over the sick guy from earlier, checking on his condition. Later on, we come to find out that sick dude was the guy Dewi was fighting earlier, and he just dies. Okay, even more confusing. While Dewi is barely winning the fight, he's told this and a flashback occurs, mid-fight mind you. His gang of bullies bump into flashback now alive guy, and suddenly Dewi is in a gang fight after school, without much context either. The guy attempts to save Dewi simply because
I heard a rumor that you busted in here all by yourself to try and save your pal.
Yeah, that makes sense.
What? But it's just really poorly explained. Dewi doesn't have much of a personality outside of save my friend, and when his friend dies, he's just the I have friends now guy with even less relevance to the story. The small backstory that the anime presents for Dewi has little relevance to the plot other than just the bond forming between the three main characters, Yumira, Dewi, and oh right, the other guy, the other fucking guy, the guy is Goku, Jin Mori, yes, Jin fucking Mori, aka the Korean Goku. Yes, I said it, everyone else has said it already. That's who the fuck he's supposed to be. He's the Korean Goku in almost every sense other than his looks. He looks more like that one guy from Digimon, but the starry eyes really sets him apart from a lot of other main characters that's shown in anime. Other than that, he's a rinse and repeat, goofy yet energetic character with no character development other than I have friends now. We get so little backstory on Jin besides the shortest cutscene of his grandfather leaving him and a small connection to Naruto, Ithio, as a kid, but we're supposed to empathize with this character as he's the main character of the fucking anime. Literally, a better fitting title would be the Jin Mori show, and it still wouldn't make much sense than the God of High School. There's expectation that a high school will be involved, so knowing Mori's personality, he'd have to have friends. He's not like Naruto where like the nine-tailed fox is inside of him and everyone's scared of him, nor is he embarking on a grand journey like Gon or Luffy where he has to find friends along the way. He's literally a bike ride away from the fucking tournament. And there's no mention on his education at all, so I find it hard to believe that he doesn't have any friends or finds trouble in finding them. Even worse, we actually get some semblance of a backstory from Yumira and Dewi. Now, I won't deny there was a battle hinted at with one of the blonde-haired commissioners. Whoever the fuck his name is, I don't fucking know because the anime doesn't really explain it. But we never got to see it. Regardless, you can read him like a book, and he's really predictable as the main character. Wants friends, wants to be strong, has to find his relative. That's basically it. Fanboys claim he's Korean Goku because the author wanted to bring something like Dragon Ball to Korea. And he's basically Goku. Major spoilers. This is whoop, whoop, whoop. Major spoilers time. I mean, if you already seen this far, I mean, like, what's the point? Like, he uses some form of main character taekwondo and moves towards using pressure points he learned in some random episode, which is completely unclear on where he learned it. Like, the anime doesn't explain it at all chronologically. Like, what the fuck? It's basically his Kaioken form, but he only successfully uses it when he really needs it. He also later uses dragon kicks, similar to Goku's Dragon Fist. Wow, straight copy and paste. And towards the end, he even gets an extending pull and is somehow the human personification or rebirth of Son Wukong or Son Goku, or rather the anime calls him Satan Taisei, which roughly translates to equaling heaven great sage, which refers to an old story published hundreds of years ago. Drawing inspiration from other stories is fine, but Jinmori is too similar to Goku in too many ways. Plus, there's already tons of main characters inspired by Goku already, and even they don't resemble the same qualities, powers, and techniques as Goku. And this is only the first season. Since you're here, you might as well check out all the other content I've been putting out lately.
Alright.
Nope. Nope, not today, baby. Not today. Let's go. Let's go. We going on them. I don't know any soccer memes. Oh, you piece of shit. Oh, calculated. Calculated. The rest of the cast isn't anything to write home about either. Ilpio appears to have some depth to him as the key holder, but his backstory, just like Deiwi's, is just as convoluted. We get the same flashback of him punching Jagle over and over again all throughout the series, with the tiniest context of Jagle winning a tournament against Ilpio's friend, beating his losing friend into the hospital, supposedly? It's not fully clear, but this revenge runs deep in Ilpio while Jagle proceeds through his day. Also, Ilpio not only has a sort of nine-tailed fox form, but also resembles Naruto's Kurama mode. I don't know. I don't watch Naruto. What is this called again? Please just tell me in the comments section. Call it something else if you want, but he's Naruto. Jagle, the seemingly main antagonist, also has some broken ability to just impale you with shark teeth instantly, while also summoning gigantic sharks to eat you. Totally legit. Apparently later he gets all these other wild abilities coming straight out of his ass, like summoning the impoverished, or rather these weird humanoid creatures come out from thin air to kill you. I'm not even entirely sure what borrowed god power Jagle has either, but we'll never get to really know either. Plus, he just wants to win, so his motive for getting the key is so poor, along with his weirdly explained backstory of just being given up by his mother and adopted by some old dude. Park Mujin, on the other hand, along with the other members of the Six, seem to have a lot of depth. It's really glazed over though, and presented as some sort of Anbu Black Ops sort of lawful good organization. That's literally it. A bunch of old heads with seemingly powerful abilities that aren't ever explained, besides one guy that looks like a conductor and summons the statue of fucking David to defeat God, or what appears to be God. Who really fucking knows at this point? The rest of the cast is even more hollow than the aforementioned ones. They're honestly not even worth mentioning. But at least they have red noses, right? Now, the red nose is memed all through different types of communities, so I won't touch on it that much. You guys already know about it, so whatever. But the rest of the art style is somewhat fresh. With the amount of work and choreography put into the Guide to High School, you can't deny that it just looks good. Even when the characters are in chibi form or slightly degraded for comical purposes, the art style is very welcoming, even when damn near every other aspect of the anime is straight butt cheeks. It makes sense since the animation production is coming from MAPPA, who's worked on numerous beautiful animated series such as Dororo, Danmachi, and even Hajime no Ippo Rising. All series you folks should seriously check out as soon as possible. Yet the director, Sung Hoo Park, I'm butchering this, I'm sorry, main directing role was only in some anime called Garo Vanishing Line. He's also working on Sorcery Fight, which I'm now worried about because of his lack of experience directing is clearly evident in the Guide to High School. Fortunately, his role in animation director led to these flashy fight scenes everyone orgasms about, and I will give props on that. Unfortunately, the animation starts to drop when you start seeing these poorly animated mass of 3D aliens coming from the sky running at 15 frames per second. Even when the music kicks in during the alien scenes, doesn't help the series at all. Now, music is hella subjective, and I really don't specialize in this line of analysis, but I will attempt to provide some insight because it's something that we have to talk about. And you'll see why in a second. Ideally, music in anime should be independent from the series while also providing some sort of benefit to the series at its end. Typically, anime does one or the other and never both, but in Gata High School, it kind of does both. The sad times are accompanied by piano pieces with violins, even during some sappy fight scenes like Mori vs. Dewi. The more intense scenes are usually accompanied by drums, synths, intense strings, along with tons of punching sounds. Interestingly enough, the more informative parts of the show, albeit very light, have a very traditional Korean sound or an ominous track foreshadowing future events, which aren't fully fleshed out, but okay, I guess. If I had a single complaint about the soundtrack during the series, is that the intense tracks typically signify a change in the fight scenes, making the already predictable anime even more predictable. The music was composed and directed by Arisa Okazama and Yoshiki Kobayashi, respectively, and this is their first time working on the anime's soundtrack with music production cooperation by Toho Music, who's also worked on B&A, Brand New Animal, Your Name, and My Hero Academia. Both of them never heard of Gata High School prior to working on the project, so go figure. The anime's opening, Contradiction, is a fairly cringy dubstep song. You either love it, hate it, or just get used to it and skip it. It's great that an anime series is stepping away from the typical anime opening sounds, but you cannot deny that the Gata High School's opening reuses scenes directly from the series. It changes about halfway through, throwing away the earlier cast for newer ones, but it's still pretty distasteful and lazy. Although you wouldn't really be able to tell if you weren't paying attention to the show. Who really is, though? The ending song, Win, doesn't really write home to anyone. Completely skippable. It really makes you wonder, what the hell is the show even about anyway? There's no denying that the entire show is simply about making friends. Yep. That's it. Just make friends with people and you'll be a stronger person for it. With such an antiquated theme that's so hidden in the background behind all the fighting and confusion of the plot, how does anyone come to this conclusion anyway? At least within the first season. We see Mori, a friendless yet super energetic main character in the first episode without any family or anyone to call a friend, but whoever he approaches seems to befriend him so easily anyway. Yumira had her own family, but was desperate to gather a following for his sword clan, albeit being the only practitioner of the art. Dewi had a friend at the beginning of the series and worked towards him, but realized he should fight for himself. I'm not really sure on this one though, but his friend kicks a bucket, of course, and he befriends the other two afterwards. Even Ilpio is trying to save his friend too and befriends Mori. If you were to look at the main villain coon, Jagle, I guess, is he the main villain? Who the fuck really knows here? We can see he was alone at birth with no family but some old man who bought him after his mom gave him away, for some unexplained reason. Instead of having friends, he was taught to not be a loser? The fuck? Who wrote this series again? I wish this making friends theme was more explored though, and it's not even treated as a secondary point to the series. Obviously, the fans the genre is catering to doesn't care too much about what to take from the series, and that's truly sad. You could argue that there's some emphasis on family somewhere, but it's really hard to call this early in the series. So, you made it to the conclusion, or just skipped ahead because you just wanted to know what I thought about it really quickly. So, here's the TLDR for you guys. This is where we rate it. Although I don't really believe in ratings because they're just numbers at the end of the day and really don't mean anything in terms of like narratives and fictions. Like, what really is a 6 or a 7 anime? Is a 6 like average, or is a 7 like please avoid? Like, I don't get it. That's why over here we rate in absolutes. So TLDR, Gata High School begins as a fair martial arts style competition that spirals into fighting gods like your typical JRPG after only 3 episodes. It brings viewers and fans in from all over the world simply due to its supposedly intense action scenes full of Deus Ex Machina, and its fights is supposed to make up for the poor plot. Unfortunately, the plot is supposed to reinforce the fight scenes and give it more purpose, but we're essentially seeing Tournament fight the anime instead, all while chasing this plot device, aka the key. The main characters are so hollow and their personalities are basically removed from the show later on, only to focus on Jin Mori, who has virtually no character development other than having 2 friends. Could you even call that character development? And using bogus acupuncture to give him Kaioken. While the animation seems advanced, fresh, and cool, that's all it really does. It suffers during the heavy 3D scenes, but otherwise does little to the show other than provide oohs and ahs. Music is decent, but please skip the openings and endings. And there's hardly any morals or themes to take from the show, or rather, the show doesn't want you to take anything from it, except the oohs and ahs, I guess. Therefore, and if you couldn't see it coming anyways, like, here it is. The guy to high school should just be avoided at all costs, and I cannot recommend it to anybody unless you just suck shonen anime's dick on the regular. It's a poor mashup of a bunch of shonen fighting anime into one big tournament. It brings nothing new to the genre, and what it does bring does not provide any reason to watch it in its current state. Hopefully a second season will improve this, but the search for the scattered plot devices doesn't seem very likely. Thankfully, you can watch it on Crunchyroll for free, I guess, but at this point, you guys all knew that. So, yeah, you're welcome. And that's about it. I would like to thank all you haters out there who kept commenting on my YouTube videos every week and all my reaction videos every week about telling me how I should watch another anime or review something that I like or do a reaction video of something that I like. And I do plan to, but this video took so long to make. So fucking long. And I think it's honestly super cool. I had a lot of fun making it. And if one of you even laughed or had a different opinion at the end of the video, then I at least feel somewhat accomplished. So thank you. Kinda. Or you're welcome. I don't fucking know at this point. But that's all I have today, everybody. Thank you so much. Please like and subscribe if you have not already. And go check me out on my Twitch channel at twitch.tv/ShoryukenPizza. But that's it. We'll see you guys next time on the mountain, the Geek Mountain. Peace. Can we even look at the anime as like its own separate thing from the webtoon, since they're totally different experiences? And can these fanboys just only solely look at the anime and just to see like how it functions on its own? Because I feel like they're ignoring all of the cons to it, all of the
Nah, I definitely hear what you're trying to say. You know, the fans, they're definitely a little more excited, you know, for the series. You know, they've been reading it for years. So now then you finally get a big reputable company, you're like Crunchyroll. Like they're like, oh yeah, they original. Oh yes, like original. They're putting money into this. This is time and money and effort. They clearly see how, you know, the amount of viewers and, you know, the readers that they have into it, the big ass fan base that they have. And then for them to come and botch it